They're perfect. Hello, FlossTube, Instagram, stitching friends. It's been it's been a while. It's so nice to be back. I'm hoping all the technology is going in the right direction today and I can get through this. Hello, hello. I hope you've all had a wonderful summer and I have lots of fun things to share with you. So thank you for joining me. If you're joining me and you've watched me before, thank you for coming back. I love sharing this stuff that I dive into and go on rabbit trails researching, and I'm just thrilled people love learning along with me. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Susan, and this is Susan Stanley Stitch in Time. I love cross stitch. I love quilts. I love textiles from the late 1700s, pretty much to the early 1900s. I don't know why, I just do. And I've been reading about them and studying them for almost 40 years. I don't know it all. I'm self-taught. I love research. And as new things are developed, I love discovering that too, or learned about. I love discovering that too. And I love to share it with you. So thank you for joining me. I've had quite a summer. We did lots of fishing, lots of crabbing. We're still going to be doing lots of boating adventures. But I definitely have to say that the highlight of my summer was going to summer school at the Attic. It was a dream of mine to attend. It's been a dream of mine, and I'm so beyond thrilled that I made it in time, pushed that little button, and got there in time to be accepted to go. It was unbelievable, and I know lots of people have already done the recap. So I'm not going to go through each project and each thing that we did moment by moment, because it would take 2 hours. Seriously, my heart is so full. It was just incredible. Jean puts in the most amazing amount of work to make this event perfect, and her staff work tirelessly, and her friends, the stitching community shop owners are friends, and they support and help each other, and that is just the most incredible, beautiful thing I've ever seen. So Janine from Acorns and Threads, Roz, who was the former owner of Acorns and Threads, Kathy from Needle and Haystack were there to help her. Of course, she had Carolyn, who's her right-hand woman, on her staff, and then the hotel. Really, truly amazing. And then there were the designers, and yeah, it's when you go to Floss Tubes of Others who are going to go through each class project, like Brendan Laura showed on Brendan the Serial Starter showed each project play by play. Barry Stitch Folk showed each project play by play. Kim Goldman did the Contented Stitcher. If you want to see each project play by play, you should definitely check out those channels. I'm going to show just a photo stream at the end of all the projects. They were phenomenal. The instructors were wonderful. They put in so much work and effort into making everything just spot on. You gather with all these stitchers, and the energy is, you can taste it. I mean, it's palpable. You're just kind of all aflutter. Of course, that's not hard for me to get pretty hyped up. I don't get hyped up. I get hyped up. I get really excited when I'm in a room of other stitchers. And this room in particular of stitchers is all people who love samplers, which is what I love. But I can get hyped up like that just with people who like to stitch really about anything, because just that action of thread and linen or cloth and needle, it's all very connecting. And my friend Ruth from Tucson, who I knew for, boy, I lived there 25 years, so probably most of those years I knew Ruth, and she came up, and I hadn't seen Ruth in about 4 years, so that was face to face. That was amazing. We got to spend the weekend together and stitch and kind of take this all in. I met so many new stitching friends. I met people from, let's see, I met new designers. So I met Ray Niles of Red Barn Samplers, and I hope I remember everybody. I tried really hard to get everything down. And I met Jennifer of Violets and Verses, 2 new designers. I met people involved with some of the sampler guilds that I'm involved with, which Danielle from Sampler Guilds of the Rockies, I believe, is the president. I met Orange Coast Sampler Guild, Terry and Sherry, who are responsible for so much organization of that. I met Diane from the Northwest Sampler Guild right up here in my neck of the woods. You'd think I would have met her face to face. No, I've seen her on Zoom, but I got to meet her in person. I met Instagram friends, Sharon. I met Sharon Charlyn 429 for the first time. She's from Florida. I met Vicky. I met Mary. So I met FlossTube friends, Mrs. Flossie. I met the Contented Stitcher. I met Sherry, the Colorado Cross Stitcher. There's something about meeting people, and also after being in really quiet life for so many years now with the lockdown, and even though we're coming out of it, yeah, I was pretty energized. So I have fun stories. I want to share a few fun stories, and then we'll get into the stitching. You know, if you've been watching me, you know that I had stitched a gorgeous chart that was from Ellen Chester called Sampler Maker. And I had stitched this before I went, and I thought I was going to go around the room and have everyone sign their initials. No, not so much. There was so much activity and excitement. That was not going to happen. But I did get the ladies who were at my table to sign their initials. And this is ever so special because of that. I was at the table with Grace from the Paisley Stitcher, Barry from Stitch Folk, Brenda and Laura of Brenda and Laura, Brenda in the sample in the Serial Starter, Sharon, and Ruth. So we had a very full and very happy table, and they were so cute, and they were so concerned that their stitches wouldn't be perfect. And I stitch in hand, and they all use a hoop, so I think they did an awesome job. I love it. So I'm going to finish this off on a spool, and this will be my memory, one of my memories of summer school. And the other thing, back in the beginning of the year, I think I showed you the way I do my journal, my memory book. I love the Needlework Press stitch calendar, but I have been using these books for years. And I'll write notes on lectures I've listened to. It's all stitching related. There's nothing else in it. And so for August, let's see, we were at the end of July, August, we move into summer school at the attic. And I had people that I got to visit with. I just wanted them to sign their name, but many of them wrote lovely sentiments in my book, which was so sweet. And then I just added pictures of fun things, fun events that were happening. It was wonderful. It was so, so, so wonderful. So 2 highlights that I'll share. Well, 3 highlights. I got there early. I was picked up by Grace and Barry and Brenda and Laura, and they stuffed me in the car. Somehow we all fit. I probably was I probably tipped the scale a tiny bit. Anyway, we went straight to the attic. It was such a blast. And then the next day we were so privileged to go to Vicki Jeanette's home and see her incredible collection of samplers and her beautiful home and just experience all the richness of her world. It was phenomenal and so generous of her. And then we went to Tanya Brockmeyer's house of the Scarlet house. And that was equally as inspiring, and just, I got to see Rachel Howells in the flesh, the real antique. So summer school hadn't even happened yet, and I was kind of already over the top. It was wonderful. Then Fox and Rabbit, Brandon and Karen showed up, and we got to share some meals together before summer school started. Here are the fabulous designers. They all put in such a wonderful effort and did such a beautiful job. Just lots of happy moments. There's that lovely lady. I got to meet Kathleen. I was gifted one of her charts. I have a Father Kind and True. I had a Father Kind and True. I wanted to make sure and connect with her and let her know that I would be stitching that in honor of my father. And then I got to meet Nicola. And I didn't know she was going to come over to talk to me, and I didn't know somebody was going to be taking pictures. But I really wanted to share my old Scott with Nicola, because Nicola, of course, charted it, and it's through Hands Across the Sea Samplers. And I just wanted to let her know that that chart was even more meaningful to me because I was stitching it in honor of my father, who had passed away earlier this year, and that the old Scott standing in the doorway was just, everything about him emulates my father, and his confidence, his slight stature, but his powerful, large personality. Anyway, so we shared a really treasured moment that honestly I will never forget, and so grateful to have met her and been able to share that story. I think we all are pretty sentimental about our stitching, but yeah, that made it even more exciting. And then a really funny story, and it's kind of makes me look a little bit embarrassing, but this lovely lady, Teresa, Strictly Stitching, I found out she lives in Bothell, really close to me, and I'd started following her on Instagram, and I found out she was going to be at summer school. Well, she posted maybe 2 weeks or so before summer school. She said, "Here I am at Mammoth Lakes. I'm on my way to summer school." And I thought, oh my gosh, this woman, I mean, she was hiking. She said she was hiking Mammoth Lakes, and she was on. I thought, she's hiking her way. She's hiking the Pacific Crest Trail to get to summer school. Seriously? I thought, this woman is amazing. I have to meet this woman. I have to find out how she did this. Did she ship her stuff ahead? I mean, what was her plan? Oh my goodness, I was so, wow, this lady is a rock star. She's amazing. So when Teresa got there Friday night, we were eating and getting ready for our first session. She walked up to our table. She's got a great bubbly personality, and she said, "Hi, I'm Teresa." I said, "Oh, Teresa, I've been so excited to meet you." I said, I'm just so in awe of what you've done, and I just can't wait to hear all about how you hiked your way down here." And she's kind of going, "Oh," she goes, "Oh, I just love that you think I did that. I just love that you think I hiked my way down here." She goes, "No, I drove and hiked along the way." She goes, "But I can see how you thought that from my posts." Anyway, it was a moment. And then, of course, we had to talk about that the whole weekend, and how maybe next year we'll hike rim to rim while we're in Arizona, or maybe that's, from one north end of the Grand Canyon through the bottom and up the other side, or maybe we'll just hike the Pacific Crest Trail, in honor of this mistake or my misunderstanding, or possibly, I don't know. It was fun. And then when she was checking out, she said, Susan, look. And she had the cart from the hotel with all her stuff. And honestly, I don't know how she fit it in her car. I've never seen so much stuff. And it was like big Rubbermaid tubs of stuff. And I said, you carried that on your back? Oh my goodness. You're amazing. You're even more amazing than I thought. So we just played along with that. So that was summer school in a nutshell. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could completely share everything, even if I did sit down for 2 hours and talk about each stage of the event. But if you ever get a chance to go to that event or in any other event or meet up with other stitchers, please don't be afraid. Just do it. It's so fun and so energizing. I am going to do just a photo stream at the end of this video with the projects and the gifts. The gifts just kept on coming. Every time you turn around, there's something else being put at your place at the table. And our table was honored with the award for the messiest table. We definitely just, there were snacks in the middle, and it was just a hubbub of happiness and activity. So that was summer school. So I mean, the journal that I keep and the signatures I got, well, it's nothing really new. I mean, we all probably went to high school and had a yearbook and had our friends sign their names or write little sentiments. And that is just not anything new in the world. So for years I've collected, like I said, I love everything from the 1800s. I love the graphics. I love the script. I love the sayings. They're so sweet. And so for years I have collected autograph books. This one doesn't, I think the person that I got this from had ripped out all the words. There's a little bit of script in there, but I just love that old writing. So 1886. You know, I've stitched samplers from 1886. I've sewn quilts from that time. It said that Papa wrote all our birth records in this book. So this was more than a signature book for this family. There was also a pressed leaf inside. I mean, just all the things you can do to make something special and sentimental and memorable. Here's a floral album. It's just sweet, and the writing is so, I mean, they're pretty fragile. Dear Ricky, through pleasures and palaces, though we may roam, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Your sister. As you can probably tell, I'm pretty sentimental. I love getting a glimpse into people's lives from the past. And I think it ties into our needlework to understand the way people thought, what mattered to them, what made them tick. This one's 1894. Just sweet graphics, sweet sentiments. I'm obviously not going to read them all to you, but look at that gorgeous script. I think it's lovely. So all of this ties into our needlework, whether we realize it or not. So early on, signatures, all that beautiful script was something that was learned in school, and it was so so that your name was beautiful. And if you went to visit or call on somebody at their home, there was usually a book or some album for you to sign your name in and maybe write a little sentiment or a verse. Well, that idea carried over into stitching and possibly started with cross stitch and then became something that you did with pen and ink. I don't really know that I don't know for sure, but from what I can tell, it goes way back in stitching. So I want to show you a couple of books that highlight some of these verses that have been used over and over and over again in samplers. I'm going to do some dipping and diving just because everything's not right here where I can grab it. Okay, first one is called The Embroidered Sampler, Way for the Creator to Express Their Feelings and Their Way of Life. And it's by let's see. Introduction, Symbolism, Traditional Sampler Verses and Their Meanings. Okay, and then it goes right into it. So it's not written in order or topic by topic. All the verses are kind of scattered throughout. And you can go through it and read verses that you've probably stitched or at least seen on some of your antique samplers. One about friendship, virtue and friendship. Let these guide your youth. Be honest, generous, and observe the truth. Accept your friend, these lines from me, they show that I remembered thee, and hope some thought you will retain of me till we shall meet again. This work perhaps my friend may have when I am in my silent grave, and which whene'er they chance to see my kind remembrance picture me, while on the flowing canvas stands the labors of my youthful hands. Oh, what is friendship but a sound, not worthy of its call? A real friend cannot be found, but God, the friend of all. So if you're interested in just doing a little bit of peeking into samplers and their verses, this might be a fun book for you to have. I think the one that I actually go to more often, because it is organized by theme, is this one called American Samplers. And I do think that American Samplers had verses and phrases from the UK, but this one, I love the way it's organized. It's organized by theme and also by year. And so I'm going to read you a verse from 1815. I'll show it in here. And then I'm going to show you a couple of antique samplers that I have that have these verses on them, have this verse on them. Friendship's a name to few confined, the offspring of a noble mind, a generous warmth which fills the breast and better felt than e'er expressed. That's from 1815. Themes about friendship in this book go back to 1684. And so one of the earliest, according to this book, friendship phrases on samplers is, in prosperity, friends are plenty. In adversity, not one in 20. So this is by Ethel Stanwood Bolton and Eva Johnson Coe. I think this is a great resource if you like to stitch samplers and want to look up, and even if you collect antique samplers, if you find a verse and it didn't appear till a later date than your sampler is aged, might help you age it a little, or just decide the age as well. Anyway, really fun. Okay, so let me show you something fun. So I grew up with this sampler. This was stitched by my grandmother, my father's mother, my paternal grandmother. Her name was Althea Winifred Metcalf, and I was blessed to be given her middle name. And she stitched this in 1922 and I'm sorry, 1928. And look at that verse. Now this is a pretty common sampler I've seen from the early 1900s. You can find these on eBay. I don't know if it was stamped on to the linen. Sorry about that glare. So you can imagine how excited I was when I walked into an antique mall and found this sampler. And it's a little bit faded, but it says "On Friendship" at the top. If I can. And there is that same verse. And then, of course, there's an additional teaching below it. A lot of these samplers had virtuous admonitions. And it's not quite as faded as it's showing up. But the date on this is July the 7th, 1830. You can see that right there. So 100 years before my grandmother stitched her sampler with that verse, somebody stitched this sampler. And I have not done a ton of research on it. There is a crown. There are 2 crowns. And on the back, it said that it was made by the person's great-great-grandmother and given to them in 1972. I was told at the time that the woman who stitched this was still alive and she was in a nursing home, but she was not accepting any kind of contact or visitors. So anyway, just fun. Let me read you the bottom part because it's kind of interesting. It says, "On conscience." So the top is friendship, on friendship. They're going to, educate you on friendship. And then on conscience. Conscience, distasteful truths may tell, but mark her sacred dictates well. Whoever with her lives at strife loses their better friend for life. Isabella Davidson. And then there are a few that I found. This one is from the Gallery of American Samplers by Glee Kruger. I'm sure if you love samplers, you've heard of Glee. And this one has the verse, this work my friend may have when I am dead, and in my grave the greedy worm may body eat, yet you may read my name complete. And then here we go out of this book by Betty Ring, Girlhood Embroidery. That'll focus. Well, there we go. And this gorgeous sampler. From 1824 has the same verse. Friendship's a name too few can find. And then she lists her name and her parents' name and a little bit of her lineage there below. So I just thought that was fun because this last experience was all about friends and stitching. And that's not new. That's nothing new in the stitching world. As always, I like to share a little bit about the connection to quilts. And so quilts also have a rich history in friendship and sharing. Oh, okay, back up. Some charts that really emphasize friendship that are reproductions or adaptations or close to reproductions. One of them is this Ackworth Friendship book, which I believe I'm going to start for September Sampler Soiree or Sampler September. I don't think this is actually a reproduction, so it's probably one or the other. Anyway, I finally gathered all the supplies, and I think I'm going to stitch each page and then have friends initial those pages. But just a lovely way to mark friends. And you know, a lot of the Quaker samplers, as I understand, the girls would stitch their friends' initials into their samplers. So that's nothing new. And then this great book, Sonoran Borders, Threads of Friendship. This is a Vicki Low Piccolo Jeanette book. And Lisa Primson Greenway was the one who alerted me to this. And I'm so glad she did, because I want to stitch things from the different areas I've lived. And this one actually has some really charming friendship stitches. So Vicki really knows a lot about cross-stitching on perforated paper. And so one of these projects, actually one from summer school, was also on perforated paper, and it was great. These are about friendship. And this one is the first sampler Felicina stitched for Emily before sending the sampler to her friend in Tucson, which is where I lived. Felicina sent small colored images she had created on grid paper showing the various motifs she planned to use. And here's the sampler. So that would just be super fun. This would also be something really neat to do for another retreat, or maybe next year's sampler. Maybe summer school or something else. Who knows? All right, now, as far as quilting, okay, sorry. This whole idea of sharing your signature, your sentiments, did not just stop with samplers. It didn't stop with signature albums. It also spilled over into quilts. And this book that's kind of the Colonial Williamsburg collection. It's by Baumgarten. Let's see if I can get that here. And Ivy. This book's great. And so it talks about signature and album quilts. And so there was a time period around the 1840s where commemorative quilts were super popular. And if somebody was moving away, the stitch community, the group of friends, would either make a block for them, and it was assembled into a quilt to give as a parting gift, or they would sign a block, and they would use things like these metal templates or stamps or pen and ink. And there were actually people hired to come and sign as well if you didn't feel like your signature was good enough. But I love this example in here. If you can see all the signatures on that quilt block. So it's not, we're not that different really. You know, we all like to connect and remember each other. So I have a couple quilts that I'll show really quickly with that same idea. And this is something you can do. Actually, it might even be fun to do for summer school. I actually thought about that, but this was gifted to me after I taught a class on quilt. Well, it was a class, and this is all made with antique fabric, and each student signed their name. One woman in the class, Lori, provided the fabric, but this is super, super special because of that. And I love the individuality of everybody's signatures. That just makes it even more special. So you can't really, you can get that a little bit with cross stitch. You could script out your name and then cross stitch that pattern. Um, Another really, really common block for quilting signatures is this block. Now this was an exchange where we made the blocks in exchange and we didn't sign them because there were only 6 of us. But typically you would sign across here. This is a great block to do that with. And it's a big one. I might have shown this before, I don't remember. And then last of all, you can create blocks and gift blocks to the person or have somebody in the group put the whole thing together. And so this one was when I moved from Texas to Washington. This quilt is called Western Sun, which was very appropriate because I was moving from a really sunny, hot place to a place that has long periods of rain and not so much sun. So these blocks and these sashing pieces were all gifted to me, and then I put the quilt together. And this pattern came out of this book by Barbara Brackman, Butternut and Blue, in case you're interested. And it gives you the history of the Western Sun quilt. And it was inspired by an antique. So thank you for letting me go down that rabbit trail. I think friendships in stitching are so, make it so sweet and make it so much more special. And we stitch alone a lot. We're alone and it's quiet. So I think being around people and having that connection is just wonderful. I want to tell you about an event that I have been so honored to be asked to be the keynote speaker at. Lisa Primson Greenway and Michelle Under the Woolen Willow have put together an event through Hobby House that is a primitive needle arts primer, a multimedia retreat. And it will be October 5th through 7th, 2023. And there will be people like Maggie Bononomy, Kathy Barrick, Beth Seal of Summerhouse Stitchworks, Teresa Miller of Teresa's Primitive Treasures, Leanne Van Layden of 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers present as the instructors. And it's going to be fantastic. And I can't wait to be on the East Coast in the fall. It's going to be wonderful. So I think registration will open up very soon if it hasn't already. So just wanted to let you know about that. And then I have, as promised, some giveaways. Oh, but before that, you're probably wondering, what in the world did you buy? You went to the attic and we haven't seen one thing that you bought. We haven't seen one thing that you stitched. Well, guess what? I think I put in 20 stitches. Seriously. No stitching was happening. Talking, lots of talking, lots of talking and connecting and sharing and learning and seeing and buying was going on. Next video, I'll show you what I worked on all month, all summer, and what I plan to do for September sampler soiree. But I'm not going to show you everything I bought this time, but I'm going to show you the top 3 things. Actually, the top 2 things. The first thing I bought was this adorable chart, and Nicola of Hands Across the Sea had several exclusive brand new charts. Kathleen Littleton had several brand new charts. Fox and Rabbit had several new charts. I mean, the stitchy goodness was plentiful, let me tell you. I wanted it all. I tried to control myself. I had to buy this one. I'll take it out. And I'm not going to tell you the story because that's Jean's story, but Jean came over to us as we were gazing on all the beautiful stitched items. And she told us a story about this sampler. It's a new release from Hands Across the Sea. Florence Law, 1899, Waste Not, Want Not. And after she told her story, there was no hope. I had to buy it, and I have to stitch it because I'm sure Jean will share that information on one of her next floss tubes. And then as we walked into the attic, we were greeted by beautiful, beautiful stitched items, one of which was a brand new designer and stitcher whose gorgeous, gorgeous piece was featured on a beautiful display as you walked into the attic. And that was this sampler. And to see it in person was breathtaking. And we all just, without fail, grabbed the book, Norfolk Needle Art, Sarah Clark, 1789. This booklet, when you open it up, it was unbelievable. And then you turn it over on the back, and there's this gorgeous image. It's so well done. It's such amazing quality. There are pictures. I'll just show you a little bit close-up of some of the stitching. Now, I'm really excited. There's more coming down the road regarding this designer, and that I'm not going to share with you right now, but stay tuned because there's some good things coming. So very, very, very excited to share this with you and to stitch this. I have some other things in kind of in the lineup before that, but this is definitely on my stitch list. It was stunning. I love the golds and the greens, and I'm really, 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 really wanting to learn about Norfolk samplers. That's, you know, I like to learn about samplers and then quilts and textiles from different regions. That's kind of my passion, and it takes you all over the world, really. So beautifully charted, well worth it, available at the attic. For now, I believe. Maybe other places, maybe it is in other places, but I know you can get this from the attic, so check it out. All right, giveaway. I'm cheating a tiny bit since I haven't been here for quite some time. I was going to wait till I hit another milestone, and then I haven't filmed for a long time. I haven't hit another milestone. It doesn't matter. I'm giving these gorgeous things away. I have had a lovely, lovely, lovely designer, Melinda from Login Up Stitches, generously gift two, let me take this out, two beautiful charts of her Bristol sampler, which is Mary Mountain. Beautifully charted, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous work. Her design company, I'm not going to open that, that'll hurt it, is Lugging Designs. She is on Instagram, and in here you get this beautiful floss card, and then you get a set of floss drops that have the sampler on them. I have two of these, and so if you are interested in stitching this beauty, just use M Mountain in your comment. M Mountain, just like that. No periods, nothing else. Okay, and I won't be gone quite as long as I was this last time. All right, she also gave me Pilgrim's Pride to give away. So for that one, just say Pilgrim. Another darling chart, Noah's Ark. For that one, say Noah. Patchwork animal crackers. So it's stitched items that you can put into a patchwork or make them as standalones. So let's say patchwork. This one is Proverbs Dollhouse. So for this one, say Proverbs. Love Our Home. Beautiful soft colors. Be really nice for somebody moving into their first home, or somebody who's loved their home a long time. So for this one, let's say love. This is gorgeous. Loving Others. I already know what linen I would use on this. For this, say Others. And the last one is Sweet Sampler. I'm sorry, I don't want to take these out. She's got a beautiful sticker. I don't want to ruin her beautiful packaging. So for this one, let's say Sweet. And that is Melinda Lugging Up Designs. So thank you so much for that generous contribution to this channel. And I met Melinda through Instagram, and you can also follow her on Instagram if you would like. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for letting me share my happiness and my stitching adventure at summer school. I will be back sooner than later because it's been this had a big gap. And I will share with you what I'm working on for September Sampler Soiree and other fun things that have popped up. As always, make time for stitching, friends. See you soon.